the solution of numerical problems on 3 equations which you have already learned. The 3 equations of uniformly accelerated motion. V equal to u plus at, s equal to ut plus half at square, v square minus u square is equal to 2as. A car moving on a straight highway with speed of 126 km per hour is brought to a stop within a distance of 200 meters. What is the retardation of the car and how long does it take for the car to stop? Here, initial speed of the car is 126 km per hour. It's moving with 126 km per hour. Convert it into SI unit. 126 into 5 by 18 becomes 35 by 35 meter per second. So initially the car is moving with 35 meter per second. It is brought to stop in a distance of 200 meters. So stopping distance is 200 meter. Ultimately the final velocity becomes 0. So using the third equation which you already learned, v square minus u square is equal to 2as. We get a equal to v square minus u square divided by 2s. V is 0, therefore substituting the values of v and s and u, we get a equal to 0 minus 35 to 35 divided by 2 into 100. If you cancel out, we get finally minus 49 by 16. Minus 49 by 16 results into minus 3.06. So correct it, minus 3.06. So acceleration is minus 3.06. It means it is retarding. Now time taken to stop the car. Time taken to stop the car, v is equal to u plus at. You can calculate using the equation v equal to u plus at. Therefore t is equal to v minus u by a. V minus u by a. V minus u is minus 35 and time t is minus 3.06. So it becomes 11.4 seconds. So acceleration is also negative and initial velocity that is v minus u. Here if you substitute v minus u, it becomes minus 35. Therefore minus 35 divided by minus 3.06 becomes 11.4. Minus minus cancels. So it takes 11.4 seconds to stop. Now let us see the second problem. A ball is thrown vertically upwards with a velocity of 20 meters per second from top of a building of height 25 meters from the ground. There is a building whose height is 25 meters from the ground. From that top, the ball is thrown upwards with a velocity of 20 meters per second. How high will the ball rise? First question is, how high will the ball rise? Second question is, how long will it take? How long will it take before it hits the ground? Before it reaches the ground, how much time it takes? So there are two parts in this problem. So let us solve the first problem. The first part, the initial velocity of the ball is u equal to 20 meters per second. And here the acceleration while the ball is moving up is acceleration due to gravity. Here it is undergoing retardation, therefore it becomes minus 10 meters per second square. Finally, when it reaches the maximum height, the final velocity becomes 0 and then it is returning back with the initial velocity 0. Means when the ball is thrown up, when it reaches its maximum height, its final velocity becomes 0. Again using the third equation of motion, v square minus u square is equal to 2as. So s is substituted here by h. So it becomes v square minus u square is equal to 2ah. Therefore h is equal to v square minus u square by 2a. Substituting the value of u, it becomes 0 minus 20 into 20 divided by 2 into minus 10. As I told you, minus 10 is because the ball undergoes retardation as it moves higher and higher because of acceleration due to gravity, which is always acting vertically downwards. Therefore, it becomes 20 into 20 divided by 2 into 10. Minus minus cancels. So when you cancel, 20 cancels with 20, we get height equal to 20 meter. Means the ball rises further for a height of 20 meter. Already the building is of height 25. So total height it covers is 20 plus 25, it becomes 45. Okay, now let us calculate the time taken to hit the ground. When the ball is thrown up, it reaches the maximum height and then falls back to the ground. So there are two parts. So we'll calculate time to take the maximum height, time of rise, and second one, time of fall. So first let us calculate time of rise. Let t1 be the time taken for the upward motion. Let t1 be the time taken for the upward motion, and then velocity at b. Velocity at b, finally it becomes 0. Velocity at b means at maximum height. At maximum height the velocity becomes 0. Then v equal to u plus at1. V equal to u plus at1. Then substituting v, we get 0 equal to 20 minus 10 t1. Therefore, t1 is equal to 2 seconds. So minus 20 is equal to minus 10 t1. Therefore, t1 is equal to 2 seconds. So from the maximum height, the ball falls freely under the gravity with initial velocity u equal to 0. We know total height from the ground 20 plus 25, that is 45 meter. So what is the time taken to fall through a height of 45 meter? We have to calculate. So let us take that time as t2, that is time to fall back to the ground. So we use second equation again, h equal to ut2 plus half a t2 square. H is equal to 45, u is equal to 0, a is equal to 10. Therefore, 45 is equal to 0 plus half a t2 square. So t2 square is therefore equal to 45 divided by 5. 45 divided by 5 becomes 9. Therefore, t2 is equal to square root of 9. So it becomes 3 seconds. T1 already we have calculated 2 seconds. T2 is 3 seconds. Therefore, T1 plus T2 gives you the total time taken. The total time taken thus becomes 5 seconds. So these are the two numerical problems. Now there is one more very important derivation which we are going to calculate, the displacement in the nth second. Displacement in the nth second means for an object which is in uniform acceleration, for an object already in uniform acceleration, for every second its velocity is increasing. If it is retarding, for every second the velocity is decreasing. So what is its distance in the last nth second? That is what we are going to calculate. Distance or displacement in the nth second. Displacement in the nth second is Snth is equal to Sn minus 1. Snth is equal to Sn minus 1. Sn is equal to Un plus half An square, as you know, Ut plus half Ut square. So putting putting t equal to n, we get Sn is equal to un plus half an square minus Sn minus 1. We get un minus 1 plus half an minus 1 square. Means if you want to calculate the displacement in the last nth second, we must know what is the displacement in Sn second and what is displacement in Sn minus 1 second. So if you take the difference between them, then we will get distance covered in the last nth second. For example, suppose I want to calculate distance in the 8th second, then I should know what is total displacement covered in 8 seconds, and I should know what is the total displacement in 7 seconds. So if I take the difference, we get displacement in the 8th second. So using that, if you simplify this, un plus half an square minus un minus 1 plus half an minus 1 whole square. If you take the difference between them, we get half plus an minus half a. Simplifying, u plus an minus half a. So therefore, if you simplify, we get Snth is equal to u plus a into n minus half. Therefore, Snth is equal to u plus a by 2 into 2n minus 1. We can solve a number of problems based on this equation, distance covered in the nth second. So this is not there in your textbook. So please solve it and solve the problems related to this Snth also. Now next concept is free fall. Whenever an object is dropped from certain height, it falls under the action of gravity. So free fall is the motion of an object under the action of gravity alone. And here during its fall, we know that there is air resistance. The air resistance offers resistance to the motion, free motion. Now we neglect air resistance. When the air resistance is neglected, then we study the motion of an object under the action of gravity alone. Such a motion is called as free fall. Now, when the object is dropped from certain height, its initial velocity is 0. Its initial velocity is 0. And during its fall, the air resistance is neglected. And when it is under free fall motion, it is under acceleration due to gravity. Therefore, acceleration through which it falls is acceleration due to gravity, A is equal to G. We already learned equations of uniformly accelerated motion. So if we apply same equations for free fall, here we have to substitute u is equal to 0 and a is equal to minus g. If you put u is equal to 0 and a equal to minus g because it's falling down, so it is along negative y-axis. The motion is along negative y-axis. If you take the coordinate system, any motion about positive y-axis can be taken positive. Any motion about the negative y-axis should be taken negative. Just like motion along positive x-axis is taken positive displacement, motion along a negative x-axis is taken negative displacement. In the same way, motion along a positive y-axis to be taken positive displacement, motion along a negative y-axis should be taken negative displacement. Therefore, when you take u equal to 0, a equal to minus g, when you substitute, we get v is equal to minus gt. V equal to minus gt. V equal to minus gt is the first equation. And we know second equation, h equal to ut plus half at square. Substitute u equal to 0, so it becomes h is equal to minus half gt square. h is equal to minus half gt square. Now the third one, v square minus u square is equal to 2as. Substituting s as the h, the depth through which it is falling, and a as g, that is acceleration due to gravity, u as equal to 0. Then we get finally v square equal to minus 2gh. V square equal to minus 2gh. These are the equations of free fall. Now, when you draw the graph of velocity versus time, the graph of acceleration versus time, position versus time. Now, first when you draw the graph of velocity versus time, v is equal to minus gt is the standard equation for the free fall. V is equal to minus gt. If you go on substituting time t, see when you put time t equal to 0, we get v is equal to minus 9.8 meter per second square, because g is minus 9.8. When you put t equal to 2 seconds, we get 9.8 into 2. So we get minus 9.8 meter per second. When you put t equal to 3, minus 3g, 3 into 9.8, we get 29.4 meter per second. So just like that, if you go on substituting the values, and if you draw the graph, we get graph of v versus t as a straight line graph, and it is in the fourth quadrant. Because velocity of falling body is along a negative y-axis, therefore velocity is to be taken negative in the fourth quadrant. Now, if you draw the slope for this straight line graph, definitely that slope is going to be same throughout the graph. So that slope gives us acceleration. Slope of velocity time graph always gives us acceleration. So that acceleration is 9.8 meter per second square. So if you draw the graph of 9.8 meter per second square, that is acceleration due to gravity versus time, it is always a straight line. It shows that the acceleration through which a body is falling down from certain height from the ground surface, it is always taken to be constant. A is equal to minus 9.8 meter per second square. So it is a straight line graph parallel to time axis. Now, when you calculate the height or the depth, if you take position as the depth versus time, so h is equal to half gt square. Second equation, h is equal to half gt square, or you can take minus half gt square. H is equal to minus half gt square. If you take, you will get the graph in the fourth quadrant, as you got earlier two graphs. You will get the graph in the fourth quadrant. But if you take f is equal to half gt square, distance covered in every second, then it's going to be interesting. In the first case, when t equal to 0, h is 0. When t equal to 0, h is at certain point from the ground. So okay, if you take it from the ground itself, then it is falling down. When you put t equal to 1, you get half g. When you put t equal to 2, you will get half g into 4. So if you go on calculating and draw the graph, it's going to be a curved path. It's going to be a curved graph, parabolic graph. Okay, these are the three types of graphs for free fall, which are very important. Now look at this. This is the calculation of the distance covered when an object is dropped from certain height. At t equal to 0, d is taken to be 0. T equal to 1, if you calculate half g, half into g, g is 9.8, so it becomes half into g, that is 4.9. When t equal to 2, it becomes half gt square, half into 9.8 into 2 square, so it becomes 4.9 into 4, that is 19.6. At t equal to 3, if you calculate in the same manner, d equal to 44.1 meter per meter. So t equal to 4, 78.4. T equal to 5, d equal to 123. So if you look at this, between successive intervals of time, the distance covered increases. The distance covered increases. You can see 0 to 4.9, 4.9 to 19.6, 19.6 to 44.1, 44.1 to 78.4, 78.4 to 123. If suppose if you take g equal to 10, then the calculation will be still easier. At t equal to 0, d is 0. At t equal to 1, it becomes 5 meter. At t equal to 2, it becomes 20 meter. At t equal to 3, it becomes 45 meter. At t equal to 4, it becomes 80 meter. T equal to 5, it becomes 125 meter. So here there is an interesting calculation. Between 0 to 1 second, if the distance covered is nearly 5 meter, between 1 to 2 second, you see the distance covered is 20 minus 5, that is 15 meter. It covers 15 meter. So between 0 to 1, 5 meter, 1 to 2, 15 meter, 2 to 3, if you calculate, 45 minus 15, 45 minus 20, it is covering 25 meter. So if you calculate these successive distances covered in successive intervals of time, it is increasing in a fixed ratio. I repeat, successive distances covered in successive intervals of time, it is increasing in a fixed ratio. So this was given by Galileo and it is called as Galileo's law. Let us see what is the Galileo's law. Galileo's law of odd numbers. It states that the distances travelled during the free fall are proportional to the squares of the elapsed time. Yes, h is equal to half gt square. So h is directly proportional to t square. It means, in other words, in equal successive periods of time, the distances travelled by the free fall body are proportional to the succession of odd numbers. So if you take the ratios of that differences between the successive distances, that is, you are going to get 5 is to 15 is to 25. So if you take the ratio of the differences, you are going to get the distances travelled by free falling body are proportional to the succession of odd numbers, 1 is to 3 is to 5 is to 7, etc. So this is how it is calculated. If you look at this, distances covered half gt square. If you take it, this one ratio as 1, then that is 0 to 1 second. If you take this distance as 1, then for 2 seconds it's going to be 3 times that previous distance. 3 times 5, it becomes 15. For a third time interval, it becomes 5 times that initial distance. 5 5s are 25. So if you take this, you are going to get the ratio of distances traversed is going to be 1 is to 3 is to 5 is to 7 is to 9 is to 11. This is what Galileo found out, that he says that the distances travelled in the successive intervals are in the ratio of odd numbers. The successive distances travelled in the successive intervals of time are in the ratio of odd numbers. Okay, this is how we are going to conclude today. Please solve the problems based on this. They are very important. If you have doubts, please ask me. Thank you.